Grade literature. We're starting the chapter called Reading in Walden. Please, again, if you have your pen, pencil out. I don't know why I don't have anything marked here, but anyway. He goes like this: with a little more deliberation and the choice of their pursuits, all men would perhaps become essentially students and observers. We believe that. Classical teaching believes that you're lifelong learners. So he's saying with a little bit more deliberation and a choice of your pursuits, all men would perhaps become essentially students and observers, for certainly their nature and destiny are interesting to all alike. In accumulating property for ourselves or our posterity, in founding a family or a state, or acquiring fame even, we are mortal. But in dealing with truth, we are immortal and need fear no change of accident. Did you hear what he said? He says when you're dealing with truth, you're dealing with what's immortal. You know, Keats said that. Well, you didn't do that. You didn't read that, but he does say that in the poem by John Keats called "Ode on a Grecian Urn." He talks about truth and beauty. These things do not end; they're forever. You know, and so. He's agreeing here. The oldest Egyptian or Hindu philosopher raised the corner of the veil from the statue of the divinity, and still the trembling robe remains raised. And I gaze upon as fresh as a glory as he did, since it was I in him that was then so bold. It is he in me that now renews the vision. No dust has settled on that robe. No time has elapsed since divinity was revealed. That time which we really improve or which is improvable is neither past, present, nor future. My residence was more favorable not only to thought but to serious reading than a university. And though I was beyond the range of the ordinary circulating library, I had more than ever come within the influence of those books which circulate round the world, whose sentences were first written on bark and are now merely copied from time to time on linen paper. Says the poet Mir Kamar Udin Mas, being seated to run through the region of the spiritual world, I have had this advantage in books, to be intoxicated by a single glass of wine. I have experienced this pleasure when I have drunk the liquor of esoteric doctrines. I kept Homer's Iliad on my table through the summer, though I looked at his page only now and then. Incessant labor with my hands at first, for I had my house to finish and my beans to hoe at the same time, made more study impossible. Yet I sustained myself by the prospect of reading in the future. I read one or two shallow books of travel in the interval of my work, till that employment made me ashamed of myself, and I asked where it was then that I lived. The student may read Homer or Aeschylus in the Greek without danger of dissipation or luxuriousness, for it implies that he is in some measure emulate their heroes and concentrate morning hours to their pages. Heroic books, even if printed in the character of our mother tongue, will always be in a language dead to degenerate times, and we must laboriously seek the meaning of each word and line, conjecturing a larger sense than common use permits out of what wisdom and valor and generosity we have. The modern cheap and fertile press, with all its translations, has done little to bring us nearer to the heroic writers of antiquity. They seem as solitary, and the letter in which they are printed as rare and curious as ever. It is worth the expense of youthful days and costly hours if you learn some words of an ancient language, which are raised out of the trivialness of the street to be perpetual suggestions and provocations. He's talking about learning another language. He talks about how valuable that is. So give me another minute or two. Don't get quit yet. It is not in vain that farmers remember and repeat the few Latin words which he has heard. Men sometimes speak as if the study of the classics would at least make way for more modern and practical studies. But the adventurous student will always study classics, in whatever language they may be written, and however ancient they may be. He says that The adventurous student will always study the classics. That's all we study here at Caldwell. For what are the classics? Now, this is the only thing you're going to be able to get to today. Question number 1. What is his definition of the classics? Right. This is it. For what are the classics but the noblest recorded thoughts of man? That's his definition of the classics. The noblest recorded thoughts of man. That is why we read them, because there's nothing better. I'm going to pause right here, and we're not going anywhere. Just sit. I want to hear the announcement before we run out that door. So just keep your seat.